Okay, welcome to Old College Try, the podcast. I'm Matt Carpenter. Today we got a Christmas special episode. Myself and co-host Peggy Keough doing some of your Q&A, some of your grab bag questions. We do our best to answer those. We have a very special guest today as well. My very own daughter, Claire Carpenter. We pepper her with some hard-hitting Christmas questions, specifically what is on that Christmas list. What do we like most about the holidays? Make sure you tune in and listen. Thanks for being here. Hey, Merry Christmas, Peggy.
Merry Christmas to you. Ho, ho, ho. Holly jolly, all that fun stuff.
Hak Shamash. Would Rosie be proud of me? I think that's close. It's happy holidays. Happy holidays in Hebrew, for those that are...
Nice. Look at you.
We just finished our 8 crazy nights and, on to Christmas. So busy, festive month. Daughter's birthday, sister's birthday, my birthday, Hanukkah, Christmas. Rosie's a New Year's baby. Lots of celebrating in the Carpenter house.
Oh my gosh, she's a New Year's baby. Nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, you got the whole family within a month there.
we do. Yeah, we get around.
Very nice. And you have your Christmas sweater on for our holiday sweater for anybody that is watching us.
My morning jacket specifically. Jacket holiday sweater. Speaking of which, Peggy, you got a tune for us today? You got an artist for us today?
I do. So this is kind of one of my... It's like a psych up song, and actually one that my husband and I, when we're going to do an open mic night here in Arizona, which we will do at some point, is on our list. But it's the Indigo Girls, and it's called Closer to Fine. And if you really listen to the words, it's just it's a powerful song. It's a good song. So I encourage our listeners to go check it out. I'm sure you know it.
Of course I do. But so you guys play that one? So that's
Yeah, we were actually, before we moved, we were practicing because there was a place in our town that had open mic night. And I play guitar, but he really plays guitar. I'm not. I just taught myself and I'm good enough to be dangerous, but he's really good. And then I was singing and he was doing the backup. So
we got to get some of your content on the World Wide Web here, Peggy. We have to figure out how to incorporate that into most of what we do, if not everything. Well, that's awesome. Good for you guys. That's fun. Team bonding.
It hasn't happened yet, so wait till I actually do it. So
okay, so we got we're doing our best to stick with our somewhat consistent cadence here, right? And once a month, just doing Q&A, right? Answering all your questions. So with that, please, and this is something we constantly monitor. So anytime you want, write into support@collegeaidpro.com, write something on our socials. I guess that would be the best ask, Peggy, right? Is to write on our Instagram, YouTube channel, whatever. That would make Kathy, who works very hard on our team to keep everybody engaged as much as possible, provide as much value on socials. Ask your questions on whatever socials you're on. She's paying attention to those every single day, and they make it to us, right? And we try to answer.
And you can even say, hey, I listened to the podcast. Please, I'd love for you to answer this question on the podcast. And then she'll earmark it and let us know, and we'll add it to our list. So that's a perfect way to do
100%. it. So you will be heard. We do pay attention to that. And you're right. Great call. But say that you listen to the podcast specifically, have a question you'd love for us to answer. So on that note, Peggy, we get some version of this, I think, fairly frequently. And the question is, I'm really concerned about how my kids' assets will affect financial aid. So a lot there, but how do you answer that question?
Yeah, so I'm not going to get in the weeds on the whole high level of how everything is calculated, but I'll just say that the students' assets are a part of it. And I think this person knows stuff, and that's why they're asking this question, because the kids' assets are the student, I should say, is assessed at either 20 or 25%, depending on the methodology, depending on the school, if they're following. But it's typically not going to be less than that. So that's why people are like, oh, I'm going to be screwed. And it is, if you are eligible for need-based aid, it is important to not have assets in your child's name. I will just say that a lot of people think they're in trouble because they have a 529 and their child's a beneficiary. Don't have to worry about that, because if you're the owner, it's your asset. So if that was the big concern of the person that submitted this question and that's your situation, you're good, right? But at high level, it's best not to have assets in your child's name if you are eligible for need-based aid. And that is a really important end to that sentence, because if you're not, there's actually there's other strategies where you would proactively do that. That's a conversation for another podcast. But that's, in a nutshell, that's the answer to that question, is you just want to be aware. And the other little thing I'll just share there is, if you happen to be a family that has a custodial account, they're called UTMAs or UGMAs. That is an asset of your child, whoever is the beneficiary of that. But again, there are strategies to move that out of your child's name. And that's something you'd want to meet with us one-on-one, because we would need to make sure it's a smart strategy for you to even implement. So hopefully that helps for that person that asked that question. I'm a financial planner by background, like a lot of you know. So saving is a good thing. When parents say, oh, I'm screwed because I saved, you're not. The college is going to expect most families to pay way more money than they have. So you want to make sure you have money saved. So don't beat yourself up for saving, is
That's
what
right.
I'm
Yeah, it's
saying.
hard not to have that feeling of like I'm being punished for working hard and saving money and things like that. I appreciate people that feel that sentiment, but I don't know. That's probably not the most helpful mentality.
Yeah. Well, and beat up is never a good mentality in general.
The only smaller detail that I'll add is, like, we're talking about, just like whether it's parent savings or student savings, we're talking about non-retirement savings. So if your kid has a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, we wouldn't expect that to negatively impact financial aid. And again, I will double down on what Peggy said, because most people, to your point, Peggy, as soon as I saw this question, I thought the same thing. They probably have a 529, think it's the kid's savings incorrectly, and that's their money, not the kids, right? At
Right.
most times. So you can't hear that enough, guys. A 529 is not, the kids don't own that money. They're the beneficiary. You own it, or the grandparent owns it, or whatever it happens to be.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so now let's switch gears. So that's a question that's appropriate for any parent with kids at different grades. This question is appeals. So appeals is the seniors in high school right now. You're in it, right? This is appeal season, but it's really good for younger parents to be hearing this, because it's going to be what you're in soon enough. So this is an appeals question. So they are asking, like, is it worth it to appeal to a state school?
Short answer is yes, right? I mean, the short answer is yes, and obviously there's more to talk about there. I think a lot of people, when they hear me speak, probably other folks on the team speak, their takeaways might be like, okay, I can expect it's worth it to appeal at private schools, but not at state schools. Now, we set the expectation that state schools, generally speaking, are more challenging to appeal successfully, because they're very black and white, formula driven. Whatever the number spits out is the deal, take it or leave it, right? And again, when we're talking about a lot of state schools, that is accurate, and especially the really, popular ones, Penn State and University of Maryland, right, and UC Boulder, uh, they just have a huge amount of demand. They're not going to have any empty beds, so we don't have that leverage necessarily that we can create. Penn State doesn't care that we got a better offer from the University of Delaware. They don't care, right? However, a couple things to talk about. Number one, if you had something significant happen, you had a one-time 401k distribution, a one-time bonus in your base income year. So for class 2026, we're talking about 2024 tax year. Even these, again, these types of, or you had a God forbid situation, right? There's been parents have got divorced or separated since then. Somebody got really hurt, passed away, right? Even these colleges will listen to some of these more extreme scenarios, right? These kind of like lifetime events. And that could be a reason that, again, even the Penn States of the world come up with a better offer than their initial offer. Now, there's only so many very popular state flagship universities. And there's all sorts of state schools, right, that do not fit that description. They are more likely to be willing to listen to appeals that aren't necessarily tied to this significant life event, right? And I would say, right, Peg, our colleague, one of the experts on our team, Mike Hinderman, he's the director of scholarships at the University of Oklahoma. And they take appeals very seriously. They try to do what they can to get more competitive offer. They especially like hearing from the students, right? Especially when we're talking about merit-based scholarships. So again, like most answers to the questions in our space, it depends is usually the kind of catch-all answer. But in summary, you should still be appealing, even if it's at a state school. even if it's at, the Penn States of the world. If nothing else, go through the exercise, and at least you can say that I did everything I can to get myself the best deal possible, even if it wasn't the end result we all wanted.
Yeah, and I would just add too that with state schools, you have the in-state versus out-of-state
There you
student
go.
deal that you don't have at privates. And so it could be different for an in-state kid versus an out-of-state. And yeah, I'll just add, like for an example, I used to be outside of Seattle and tons of kids applied to University of Arizona and Arizona State, and I would play them off each other all the time because 'cause they're direct competitors and they would play ball because they wanted the same kids, right? So, as Matt said, there's no definitive answer to most things in our space, so this is just yet another example.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and good ad there though. It's a great point. Okay, so question for Peg here: the retirement accounts are not included on the FAFSA. Message received. Are they included on the CSS profile?
So this is a great question because they are not included in that student aid index calculation, which the CSS schools call it a family contribution, whatever they want to call it. FAFSA calls it SAI, they call it whatever. But as Matt said earlier to the other question, we're talking about non-retirement assets only are included in that. But I think the reason why this question came up, and it's a good one, is because on the CSS profile, for most families, they're going to see this question that says, what's the balance of each parent in their retirement accounts? And parents always say, why are they asking this? It's not part of it. And it's 100% right. It's not part of the calculation, but it is now, as of a couple years ago, it's a required question and it's on there. And I've talked to College Board over and over again, even before it wasn't required, all about this. And the answer I get is that if they want the colleges want all the information to look at the family holistically so they can give them the best package. Well, the jaded part of me, and I've been around the block part of me says, well, yeah, maybe, but not all the time. So basically, if you've been a good saver, and we were just talking about saving is a good thing, and it is. But if you have a couple million, you've been fortunate enough to save a million, a couple $1 million, even if you're pushing retirement, the college sees that. That's a different impression of your financial health that they have compared to parents that maybe have 250,000 and they're in their late 50s, right? So that question can be helpful for sure, but it can also hurt if you have a lot of retirement savings, but it is a required question. I will say, just insider info, the only way that question usually doesn't come up is if you aren't saving pre-tax in like a 401k, 401b through work. You're not saving and you don't put that in that question that comes before it. That question about retirement balances usually doesn't pop up. But you don't have any control over that. But that's the answer to that question. It's not included, but it is asked about. Whereas on the FAFSA, that's one of the most common mistakes that people included, but it's very clear, don't put your retirement assets.
Yeah, and we've had a couple, financial aid personnel, right? Folks at colleges that are CSS profile colleges tell us off the record, like, yeah, we look at that. And if we think it's, in their words, I've heard this more than once, overfunded. If the retirement is overfunded, we may consider that in terms of how we dish out need-based financial aid, even though technically the formula they're not, again, quote unquote, they're not supposed to do that. So how are you supposed to know as the consumer? This is where, guys, you have to be in the software, right? mycap.collegeaidpro.com. So when you're applying to these, institutional methodology schools, these colleges that require the CSS profile, right? And we're going to tell you what your SAI should be. Okay. And so if you get accepted into some of these colleges, and especially these ones that say they meet 100% of need or close to it, and it looks like, well, wait a minute, I didn't get what the software said I should get, and you're somebody that in your mind has a fairly, a decent amount of retirement saved, this could be an instance where, again, they did punish you for that. Okay. So absolutely you want to go back and appeal, and absolutely you want to bring up and ask directly, hey, did you consider my retirement? You're not supposed to, but something's not aligning here. So again, that's where you want to make sure that you are not kind of like flying blind and taking the colleges at face value, for better lack of
Yep, absolutely. I think it's funny, overfunded. These people in financial aid offices are financial planners and have any clue what that even means.
yeah, Yeah.
All right. All
Um,
right. So I got one other. Oh, were you going to say something?
no, go ahead. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, no, sorry, I'm up. I'm skipping.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have another question that's really good that is appeal oriented, but your answer will really open up a lot of great info for people. So why would a school approve an appeal for a family if they have another family that will pay full price and they are full pay family? Full pay meaning no discounts. That's what we mean.
Yeah, so I mean, look, and I'm curious to get your take here too, Peggy. But these colleges, right? They're businesses. We say it all the time. They're businesses that don't pay taxes because of their nonprofit status, but they have to each year kind of make their yields, right? Their first get is to make sure that they have as few empty beds as possible. Okay, that's the first thing. Let's get people committed here, and then let's do our the best that we can from a margin standpoint, right? For each student. Okay, but especially if you are, when we talk about appealing, right? Maybe we feel like we have less leverage because they know that, a certain percentage of families are going to be paying full sticker price. We've already been accepted into the school. Okay. At this point, if we're appealing, that means we've already been accepted into the school. We already have our foot in the door there. And now it is up to us as consumers to have as a sophisticated as an appeal as possible. And this is something that we say, you can't just go back and say, I'd like to have more money. Can I have more money, please? You have to anchor to something. You have to give them an excuse. And we always say, spoon feed them reasons to give you more money, right? Because maybe that other family is paying full sticker price. That has nothing to do with me and my family. And that has nothing to do with the college's methodology, right? And that's what we want to anchor to, right? Those two things, whatever's happening outside of this relationship between me and the college is basically none of my business. And I want to hold the college accountable because it's something you hear us say almost every single week is so many of these schools give families less money than they should give them because they know that the families are none the wiser, right? And even if they ask for more money, that's not good enough. You have to ask with appropriate tangible data points, right? And if you do that, and hold them accountable and say, I know you use the institutional methodology, but you anchored to the federal methodology. No, because it was higher. No, you can't do that. I think it looks like you considered retirement. No, you can't do that. Right. So again, so long as you present a case that obviously is relevant to your family, but also holds these colleges accountable, you have very, very high odds of having a successful appeal, even if they're going to get a better yield or whatever your neighbor is going to pay full sticker price. So I don't know what you'd add there, Peggy, but curious to get
I
your
would
take.
just add even more meta level to, and maybe this is part of what this person's trying to ask. Like they look at each case, as Matt said, but these colleges, they have very major yield targets and they have targets, so many full pays. They have kids that are going to get a Pell Grant and they're filling in the gap for a huge amount after the federal government and the state maybe comes in with their grants. And that's part of their deal. There's no college out there that's like, we want 85% full pay, so those kids are all gonna get it. That's just not how they do it, thank God. And there's not enough full pays out there. None of them would survive. They get it. Like that gets to like the need blind, need aware. When they're finishing up a class, if they're need aware, they might pay attention to, oh, this is a full pay student versus not. But when you're appealing, at that point, they've let the student is in, right? So they want that student. That's why they're sending them the admission. So they're going to play ball. They're not going to look and say, oh, well, they're not full pay. Like they know that as these sticker prices go up, most families are not full pay, right? So it's not something, I know parents do get really worried about. Should I pretend I don't need any financial? I mean, they get in their head too much, in my
Right.
opinion. So don't worry about that. Once you're at the appeal stage, you're done anyways. But even when you are being admitted, you are who you are as a family financially. If college doesn't like it, honestly, screw them. They don't let you in, that's not where your kid belongs, right? Your kid's gonna go somewhere else where they're gonna do great, so I wouldn't worry.
Yep, perfect. And then Peggy, two more quick questions here. We'll try to rip through these before I bring on my special guest, our special guest here, to
Special
ask a
holiday guest.
special holiday guest where we can ask some other A couple other quick questions here.
Very
But
important questions.
there you go. So this one is somebody that again has been paying attention, Peggy, which we always love to see. So this person states 401ks are usually not counted, but if a parent is near 59 and a half, will colleges expect withdrawals to pay? In other words, I think speaking for them, will they bake this into their calculations, knowing that there's some withdrawals or potential withdrawals around the corner?
Yeah, this is a great question. I love it. So the balance is in the 401k. We've already talked about that, not included. When people retire and they start taking money out of their 401k, that's income. So you have to remember there's assets and there's income. That's income. So yes, that would be part of the formula. But what this person is asking, what I'm reading, and if you're not, you can tell me, Matt. Person isn't, they're just saying they're close to 59 and a half, which is when you're allowed to start taking money out without a penalty. If you're still working, which a lot of people are at 59 and a half, no, the college isn't going to say, by IRS rules, you're allowed to take money out. You should be. I have never, knock on wood, seen this. It would be so egregious. I would be appealing all the way up to the president of the university if a college did this. Never seen this. So they don't expect you to pull money out of a 401k when you have it. When you start doing it, absolutely, it's taxable income and they're going to include it.
Yep, exactly right, right. But again, you can tell, Peggy, obviously by the question, just a savvy parent, and I even
Yep.
appreciate the mindset, right? Like
Me
let's
too.
like
Me too.
be on guard here, like and let's not naively assume that anyway, so that's great. Okay, that's great. One of our, I got to imagine one of our kind of power listeners here. So, Peggy, I
Yeah.
think you got one more question for me,
I got
and then
one more for you, and this comes in a bunch, so we figured we would just throw it in, and it goes to timeline, which I think is good for every parent to hear. So how early do you, meaning Cap, how early do you work with families? They've obviously been on our webinars and on the podcast, and I've heard you mention, fresh kids that have freshmen right now, that class. What about earlier? So I just wanted to have you share our take on that.
yeah. So a couple things here. Number one, I mean, our sweet spot, our first language is what we articulated as late stage college planning. You got a kid that's in ninth grade through 12th grade, and of course, we still work with families in college and after college, trying to figure out repayment on loans, grad school, right? That is our again, I would say our first language. One of our biggest challenges always, and I've been saying this for 20 years, is trying to create urgency in families to get engaged earlier in this process, because we just have the just overwhelming data that the sooner you start engaging here, the better the end result is. Right? Because there is things that you can do, even if you have a freaking newborn, that's going to set yourself up for success. Right? So, and again, human nature, and nobody can relate to this better than me, is to just like put it off until you absolutely have to, which is why we have so many hair on fire parents. Senior
Yeah.
year, oh my God, I can't ignore this anymore. Right? But when we can get people engaged, when we can create urgency earlier, we just have better end results. And guess what? Your hair's not on fire senior year. You're just so much better prepared. You're setting yourself up for success. There's going to be some inevitable stress when you're in it, no problem, but you're just going to thank yourself when you get engaged earlier. Now, I love this because, and as a matter of fact, Peggy, I was just spent a lot of time this morning with our very own Dr. Jason Sloan here, because we are getting more intentional and trying to provide more value for younger students, right? Families that are like, again, this class 2024 student, where they're like, I don't want to know, I want to get started. What can I do now? So that's it. We haven't activated this yet, but we want to get better this year, because we do have a lot of CFPs, certified financial planners, and financial advisors like you, Peggy, on our team that looks at this thing with a much more comprehensive viewpoint. And how can I thread this needle between planning for retirement while sending my kids to college, right? How can I do these two things at once? Stay tuned there, right? Because we are going to get better here. We are going to get younger. That's how we say it internally. Like, we got to get younger. We have to provide more value for families that have a younger student, and we will. But guess what? This person gets it. They're engaged already, and I can all but guarantee you, they're going to be thanking themselves in 2024 or 34 rather. Jeez.
Well, set the whole family up for success. When you look at it that way, your child and where they end up and how much it costs and your retirement, it's just a win-win across the board. Yeah. So as
Speaking of
Matt
which,
said, stay tuned, stay tuned.
speaking of younger children, Emma, Come here, buddy. Special guest today, Peggy. Special guest. Little hustle, pal.
Fly, man.
Hey, you cannot. Can I go to the bathroom? Yeah, there you go. That's fine. Come here, buddy. You got to come over here. There she is. Emma Claire
Hi,
Carpenter.
Emma. Say hi to our audience.
Hi to the audience. Hey, everybody listening or at home. So we just have a couple quick questions. I have one. What is number one present that you're hoping for this year from Santa? Or a couple. You can name a couple.
Maybe a go-kart.
That's a new one. Okay. Go-kart. I haven't heard that yet.
A vanity.
A vanity. All right. A vanity. Nice. Yeah. You know, that's not happening. Anything else? Peggy, any questions from you, buddy?
What's your favorite thing about the holidays?
Spending time with dear old dad.
Maybe like getting off from break because that's like really fun.
Yeah. No school.
Having a nice long break from school. Yeah, I get that.
And do you want to say maybe like good luck to all the parents and families that are putting their kids, trying to send their kids to college? You want to say good luck?
Good luck.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
And enjoy your families, right? Everybody that's got kids coming home from school, or maybe it's the last holidays with everybody at home before college. Yeah, we hope everybody has the best Christmas and Hanukkah and whatever you're celebrating, right? All right, Peggy, you got anything else for us?
Just, happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays, guys. Bye. Okay, thanks for listening to today's Christmas special podcast, Old College Try. We were joined not only by myself and Peggy Keough, our normal co-host, but also a very special guest, my daughter, Emma Carpenter. As always, today's episode was produced and edited by Eileen Camel. Happy holidays. We will see you in the new year.
You get the best of my